Welcome back. A little bit of an update on the TM. I have done about like 60 hours on the bike now. So overall, the TM has been a very good machine. To come back on the issue I had in the last video with the piston snapping in half. All of that has been resolved by the dealer and the factory. It didn't cost me one dime or anything. Gaskets, everything I needed. They make sure I got, and it didn't cost me one dime. They didn't send me any bill for it. So I wanted to go over a couple of things. Let's start with the work on the engine. The engine is really easy to work on, and there are always a few things every brand does a little bit different, of course, but overall, without any manual or something like that, it was quite doable to change the piston and check everything else that had to come off after the little piston issue. The rest of the bike is also pretty straightforward. The plastics are easy to change, the normal maintenance is very easy to do with exception for the air filter situation. I will talk about that a little bit later on. The only downer for me on this bike is you do have to loosen a couple of nuts while holding the bolt, for example on the linkage system, but this goes for many brands, I think. I think only the KTM group is the only brand where you have the bolt in threaded holes, so you only have to loosen the bolt itself. So to go over the changes I made to the bike are just a few things. I had the suspension revalved and resprung because for me it was running a little bit low in the front when I was riding in the sand. The stock setup was actually pretty good in the hardpack situations. The stock valving also worked really well. This is one of the things I kinda regret doing. Just a stiffer spring would have done the job probably. I also installed skid plate with linkage protections because the stock skid plate doesn't have the protection for the linkage. The linkage is hanging a little bit lower than the bottom of the frame, so I put on a AXP skid plate to slide over the rocks and trees a little bit easier. I also highly recommend putting radiator guards on the bike because I did bend both radiators badly and I broke one, and the radiators on these bikes are rather expensive. The pair was €400, so the guards would have been way cheaper to install in the first place. I also installed mousses in the front and in the rear. And I changed the bars and the grips, but that is more a personal preference. I also changed the gearing slightly. I ran 2 teeth more in the rear, so it picks up a little bit easier coming out of a corner. The top speed of the bike was a little over 140 km an hour, so it's not really an issue. The engine is still stock and has plenty of power and a very nice power curve. I didn't feel the need to change it at all. The stock exhaust is already made by HGS over in the Netherlands. In person it has a very nice sound to it, and I really like the twin mufflers. On the camera it does come out as well as in person. I guess that has something to do with the air filter or the air intake between your legs and some suction sound or anything like that. I don't really know. Changing the air filter is still quite a hassle on this bike, but I will show you that later on. I still think the bike is more suited for the faster and flowy stuff. I really like the way how the bike handles on the motocross track and in open fields. The rear shock in stock form is working really well, only the rebound is a little bit fast, so I almost had to close it off entirely, which isn't really that great. But after the revalve, the shock might be the best stock shock I have ever had on any bike. In the more tight and technical terrain, the bike is a little bit harsh in comparison with the KTM group bikes. I'm not saying the bike sucks or anything like that, but because the engine is quite explosive on the gas, if you have multiple obstacles in a row, it will get a little bit out of hand easily. And the chassis being very stiff is not really helping in that case. For a single obstacle, or a bigger log or a bigger rock in this case, it's actually really easy to clear it. The stock valving in the fork and the shock was better suited for the more tight technical terrain than the current setup I'm with. So in stock form it would have been better for that kind of stuff, but right now it's very stable in the sand, and here in the Netherlands we do a lot of sand, so choices you have to make. I kind of would have expected that after 60 hours of riding the frame would have loosened up a little bit and lost a little bit of rigidity, but it didn't really happen. The frame is still very stiff, and for the faster stuff, great. For the tight technical terrain, it's a little bit uncomfortable at times. Besides the little piston issue I had, I didn't really had any problems with the bike so far. When I took the engine apart, I checked the valve clearance and everything. It seems to be fine, no weird wear and tear in the engine, so that all looks very good. The technical system, I haven't had any issues with that. Last time I compared the TM against my Gasgas EC350, the 22 model, which has been sold by now, and I still would have picked the TM over that Gasgas. I just got the new 2024 KTM 350, and I have to say I'm very impressed with that bike. All the issues I had with the Gasgas, where I think the TM has been way better, are kind of resolved with the newer KTM. So if I have to choose between the 24 model and the TM right now, I probably would pick the 24 KTM model, but I have only done like 5 hours on the bike. Overall, it's a very nice bike, and the dealer system over here in the Netherlands is actually very good. They have a lot in stock, so I didn't have any problems with it. They were also very nice with all the warranty stuff, with the piston issue, so that's very nice. I've had a lot of people asking me questions about the bike besides the track or when you are at an enduro event, and it is always fun to talk to other enthusiasts. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask them, I will try to answer them. take the air filter off. It's still a little bit of a hassle. You have to open up the cover, then it's over there, but you already can see if you want to take it out, you kind of have to remove the seat as well, which I already loosened up a bit. Now, then you have the hole to take the filter out. You loosen it up, but it has way too many threads to it. And then, when your air filter would have been a bit dirty, you have to take it out through this hole without getting any debris falling into the air suction tube, which is down there. I will show you. Yes, I said way too many threads. You take the air filter out, but remember, it could have been a bit dirty, sandy, and then it's already against this. Then you kind of have to take it out like this, but you can see it's over there, and if you take the air filter out, it could have been that some debris falls in there. So every time I change my air filters, I make sure I don't touch the throttle, so the valve in the throttle body is still closed. I take a little bit of a suction tube and I take the vacuum cleaner and I make sure there's no debris up there. Then I take my phone, I put it in there with the camera and the flashlight on so I can see it's nice and clean, and then you put back the air filter.